just for women. Somebody said last week, well, they need to change their name. You know how hard that is? Things do not happen that quickly. But we welcome men. We have men in our organization, and it's a wonderful thing. Members of the League are here to assist you. If you have a question for any of the candidates, there's a card that will be passed to you from League members. Could you hold your hands up, please? The League will take those cards and a pen, and you can write your question on it for the candidates, and we'll give it to our League, and then they will combine them, and we'll move forward. Please stop by the table in the back. There's tons of information. Rachel has her hand up. This is being recorded. It will be recorded. It will show up on our YouTube channel. It'll show up when it gets there. But 24 hours. There's probably some rule about that. It will be before the election. I want to personally thank you all for showing up. This is a wonderful place to live. Most of us chose this place to come and live. It is the best kept secret in the United States. And we don't want to share it, do we? But we want to protect it. And the bottom line is, the League wants to be part of this community. We work very hard to be part of this community. And we thank you all for showing up. I am not going to spend a whole lot of time because you did not come here to hear me talk. I'm going to turn this now over to Paul Goebel, who will tell you what we're doing for the rest of the evening. Paul.
Thank you, Brenda. Brenda, you don't need to change a good name. Leave it as it is. It's just fine. Good evening and welcome. This candidate forum for the Henderson County School Board is a long-standing tradition of the League of Women Voters. And it speaks to the persistent passion of our League, which is to protect, promote, and defend democracy. It is important to note that tonight, for the League of Women Voters and for the candidates, this is nonpartisan. Each candidate acts on their own behalf with no affiliation to a political party. There are 9 candidates. 3 of them will be elected to serve on the county school board. We want to thank the candidates for being here tonight. We know that you have a busy schedule, and to come, and we appreciate that very much, that you would share your vision of our school system. The school board is responsible for 23 schools. They employ over 900 teachers, over 1,100 support personnel. They have a budget that exceeds $125 million, and all that on behalf of about 13,000 students. The format for tonight's forum is as follows. The League has prepared 6 questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. Each candidate will have the opportunity to speak first. Each candidate will have the opportunity to speak last on a rotating basis. The lady sitting in front of you are the timers. They will keep you abreast about how much time you have. And when the lady holds up a stop sign, we expect that you would follow that sign. At the completion of our 6 questions, we will accept questions from the floor. And remember that a question cannot be a candidate-specific question. Any question will be answered by all 4 candidates. Finally, a couple thoughts. One, you turn your microphone on so that you press that button so that it's green, and we would ask that you speak into the microphone so that everyone can hear. If you need a question repeated, Just ask. So, let's begin. The first question, yes.
Can we do the pledge?
Oh, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first question for Sheila Dale, followed by Jay Egoff, followed by Mary Ellen Custon, followed by Perry Parlow. The first question is, what do you see as the school board's most important roles and responsibilities?
Okay. Well, first of all, I see that the school board role is actually to hire and the superintendent and the treasurer to create and enforce policies, create and choose policies, I should say, to budget and to allocate funds appropriately, create and maintain the community relationships, maintain the best interest of the school district, planning student services, goal setting and future planning, adapting curriculum to ensure great education for our students, and serve as a link between the schools and the public. Uphold a position with integrity, honoring the law and the sworn oath of office according and based on the Constitution. And of course, building relationships with parents and the community, once again.
Jay Egoff.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having us here. We appreciate the opportunity for all y'all to be here and witness and hear us. But I think, when I look at our most important job is, okay, can you hear me now? Should I start over? I carry pretty. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting us. But my time starts now, so that's But I look at, in education through the eyes of the children, and we need to have the best education possible for our children. Now that does involve everything that Ms. Dale already spoke about, designing the programs and working with teachers and hiring teachers and promoting, and budget spending and stuff like that. But in my eyes, you can't go back and relearn second grade, third grade, fourth grade. You just can't, you're going to pass, you're going to go on to third, you're going to go on to fourth, and so you need to be able to, make sure you have the knowledge that the state requires and that the teachers and your parents require you to have. And I'll also say, it is also our job, I feel, we have apprenticeship programs after high school. College is not for everybody, and you don't have to go to college to be successful. So we have partnerships with Elcomet and Elcomet and many other apprenticeship programs. We have apprenticeships with dealerships where they're working on auto, and so 30 seconds. So I feel like we're to bring them into an education and then prepare them to be positive members of society the best way that we can. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Custon.
Thank you, Mr. Goebel, and I just want to echo the thanks for everyone for sharing your Saturday night with us this evening and for the league for putting this on. So first and foremost, the school board's responsibility is to adopt fair policies that help our students thrive. And that's, of course, keeping in mind state and federal policy and laws, and making sure that we are creating policies that produce a welcoming and effective learning environment for our students. And that's working with our kids, that's working with our parents and the rest of our community, like Jay mentioned, to have those fair policies on the books. I know a little bit about public policy. I have a master's in public policy and have worked in advocating for clean air and clean water at the federal level. And I'm excited to bring that knowledge to the school board. Of course, there's also budgeting. And Mr. Goebel mentioned the large budget and that we're the largest, I don't know if you mentioned, we're the largest employer in Henderson County, the school system is. So that budget is important. As a recovering math major, I love a good budget, and I'm excited to work on that. Also, of course, personnel. So we know that we have big shoes to fill with our superintendent, and our school board just hired a new superintendent. We want to make sure we retain him and get the most out of his knowledge, as well as other personnel concerns that come up before the school board. And, lastly, just being a good role model for our community within the schools and for everyone who comes to enjoy the school board meetings. Thank you.
Eric Parlow.
Again, I'd like to go the thanks that you give us this forum to present our positions on the school board, so thank you. So, most important, responsibility to the parents of the county. Number one responsibility to come alongside them and educate the children. So our role is to present a culture that rolls down to all the staff, that the board is responsible for directly hiring, and then all the staff, and promote a culture of learning, and that rolls out into everything that we have. And that's where I see our responsibility as parents. Our role is to present a culture of learning, and thank you.
Our second question, we will begin with Jay Egon. And the question is, how would you describe an effective school board member, and what in your background or what qualities do you possess that makes you right for the position?
I always forget to hit the button, but I hit the button this time. I think, for one thing, I'll jump to my experience. I went to Bruce Drysdale in 1975. I graduated from Hendersonville High School in 1989. So I've been a student or a parent or a school board member of Henderson County Public Schools for over 27 years. And I have 2 kids in the system, so I'm very interested on how the public education works, especially, for my children. I think, as board members, we need to set policies and what's more important. One thing that I do is I volunteer at Clear Creek once a week, and I've done that last year, and I'm doing it this year. And that gives me a good experience about what we're doing, what teachers are doing, what staff are doing. And one thing that's important in my mind, I was talking to Dr. Bryant, and when we set this up, and I said, what did you do today? He said, man, I taught. And I said, you taught? You taught school today? And he was like, yeah, I just love going out and doing that. And I was like, could I do that? And he's like, yeah, you can do that. We can. So he set that up, and then I said, I'd like to go to every school and just so I can see what's going on. And he said, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for the kids? And I said, well, you know what? I'm doing it for the kids. And he said, well, you just stay in one school, and you go back and you build relationships with the children and with the teachers. And that's what the kids, and so I help out with 2nd grade. And I do that weekly. And I did that last year weekly, and I'm doing it this year weekly. So that's, not only you practice what you preach, but you also need to go in and experience it firsthand of what a good school board member should do. I think that's it.
Mary Ellen Custon.
Thank you. And this feels so right, because this question of what makes an effective school board member, is like any interview question. It feels like the community is interviewing us candidates for who you're going to vote for this November, or October 20th if you want to go early voting. So, being involved in the community and having skin in the game. So on the other end of the spectrum, my kiddo's in Bruce Drysdale now, and my youngest won't graduate until 2037. So I'm invested in our public schools. I am a product of public schools myself, and I get the good that's not just test scores, right? Public schools is more than just a number. It's part of the community. It's how we grow our vibrant communities and make sure that our democracy is strong and healthy. So someone who can do that and is an effective way of doing that is a well-rounded person. So I'm a mother. I'm a youth sports coach. I tutor math. I've taught college calculus. and I'm a public policy professional. And so to have different facets like anyone else here in the community and able to bring those and those perspectives is important. But we can't have all the facets, so being sure that you are open and willing to listen to people and hear where they're coming from is also incredibly effective and needed. Being organized and prepared, of course, like any good job interview, you want to make sure that you understand what the school system has done so far and what the vision is and how you can best plug into that. So with that, I think that making sure teachers have the resources they need to thrive, to be good advocates to Raleigh, to make sure we can get our tax dollars back and close the gaps here in Henderson County is crucial. I have a proven track record of volunteerism and advocacy that I would love to bring to bear to make sure that we are getting the resources we deserve here in Henderson County.
Eric Barlow?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. How would you describe an effective school board member? And what in your background or what qualities do you possess that make you right in this position?
Thank you. So, effective school board member. So we're a board, we work as a team, so we need teamwork and ability to solve problems. And that, to do that involves being able to learn what the issues are, understand how that affects the community, and more so the parents and the students. And it really comes down to voting. So how we will vote on each one of those issues. So I was an effective school board member. For me personally, I'm an engineer. Been an engineer for over 30 years. And effectively building teams and structured problem solving. So investigating what the issue is, learning all the sides, and making the best decision for the whole. Thank you.
Sheila Dale?
Hi, thank you. I'm going to, hi. Okay, I'm going to introduce myself. And in doing that, I think I will answer the question. So my name, of course, is Sheila Dale, and I grew up here from the age of 3. I'm now 58 years old. I'm a West Henderson High graduate. My husband and I we met at high school at West. I was 17 years old, and he was 16, and we have been together ever since. So we married in 1985. We had 2 children. Our oldest graduated from West Henderson High School in 2004. Our youngest graduated from West Henderson High School in 2012. We have 3 grandchildren. Of those grandchildren, one has already entered Fletcher Elementary. She's in 1st grade. 2 more will follow her. And I'm so excited to know that they will actually be following the legacy and learning under the same education system that we had. It is a great education. We had a great, and we want to ensure that. So that's why I'm running, to make sure that their education is secure. So my husband and I have owned businesses for about 30 years, and I have sat on a financial planning board for almost 14 years. I've just recently been invited to join the Mission Health Nursing Fentanyl Task Force, of which, let me just say quickly, there is a National Drug Take-Back Day on October 29th. So I'm excited about literally just getting involved in the community. I once was involved. We're still involved as business owners, but this is at a different level, and I'm really excited to just watch the children grow. And that's pretty much it. Get involved and continue to learn.
The next question, we will begin with Mary Ellen Custon. And the question is, what is your vision for education in Henderson County?
Awesome. We have really good schools. I am so pleased that my kiddos will be growing up here and eventually graduating from Hendersonville High School. Got to get through elementary school first. And going from great to excellent is where I see us going. So we've got some blue ribbon schools here in the county. I had the privilege of benefiting from a quality Southern public education down in Columbia, South Carolina, where all 3 of my schools were blue ribbon schools. I would love to see more recognition and thriving in that realm. we have great things happening right now with our teachers and staff. We've got our an agricultural education teacher who's in the running for the Career Technical Teacher of the Year for North Carolina. We, of course, have the Western North Carolina Teacher of the Year from last year at Mills River. And y'all, the National Nutrition Director of the Year. We need to build on this. We need to celebrate that, get our kids more connected. Actually, we had the Chamber of Commerce was kind enough to put on a forum, and in talking about sort of farm to table, farm to school type issues, mentioned, getting more kids to work with the folks that are already doing great things in our system. I threw that out as a cool idea, but then learned that he's already doing that, already bringing interns in to expand from that so that our teachers and our staff can learn from each other and build from the hard-fought knowledge they've gotten working in our community and in our schools, will take us from being great to being quite excellent and being, not only great in North Carolina, but great in the South and great in the country.
Eric Powell.
So, vision for our schools. Want to maintain where we are and not lose anything. So, to do that, you're never standing still. You're either losing ground or moving forward. So, in that respect, we need to move forward and bring in new, different ways to look at things. So that's my vision, is to bring new and different ways to look at things. So as a board member, I mentioned earlier I'm an engineer, so I have an engineering mindset. So I want to bring that to the board and as well as to the school. So that's my vision that I can bring forward. And I look to bring the decision that the board can make to make decisions for the school district as local as possible. So, where we can bring in to represent our county and the parents and the constituents in our county to bring things locally and make local decisions.
Sheila Dale.
I agree. I think I would like to see committees formed by parents, teachers, and local leaders, just to literally raise the bar, if you will, and assist at a greater level for our children. They've lost so much due to COVID and the mask, and I've talked with several educators. They're literally like 2 years behind. I can testify that with my own grandchildren, and so I would like to see the community come together at a greater level and help our children raise up the bar. So we've got over 200 churches in this area. We've got a tremendous amount of organizations that are here. We sat in a room the other day with a wealth of teachers, retired teachers, and I'm looking around thinking, you guys need to come back to work. We would love, I think they need to be vetted and put back in front of the students because some children do not feel seen. And I think a child knowing that they are validated, that they're valued, really it encourages them to learn. I had two aunts and uncles who literally treated me like I was, like I hung the moon and the stars. Well, of course you wanted to do the best for them. And so that's what our children need. Our children really need to be known that they're seen and heard. And I would like to have education simply be education once again.
Jay Eagle.
Thank you. My vision of education here in Henderson County is like what I said before. We need to prepare our students to be positive contributors to society when they get out, when they graduate. And that does not necessarily mean going to college. We've developed a wonderful apprenticeship program with 4 manufacturing facilities here in Henderson County. And we also have 3 or 4 or 5 dealerships. We're actually employing one right now as well in Brevard through Blue Ridge. So we want to keep talent local if we can. Have people graduate from school and say, you know what, I can get a job in Henderson County and I can provide for a family in Henderson County and I can stay here. So that's my vision of students in Henderson County. Keep them here, prepare them Going back to, there's a program called Leader in Me that's involved at a lot of schools. And we were visiting a school, and these kids were like just sitting out in front of their classroom. They had done all these, they were coming up, they were treating us like they were 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. They were shaking our hands, they were talking about, and that's what we need to do is prepare them, how to be positive people in society. And another thing is we have great schools, we have great teachers. You can see from my past votes, I've wanted to keep kids in school at every vote that I ever make. And I think to take advantage of that, we need to keep the kids in school, keep them learning, and then provide a pathway for them once they do graduate. That's my vision. Thank you.
Eric Parlow will speak first to this question. And the question is, what are your priorities for funding and managing the school system budget?
So you'll be with a tough one first. All right, so school budget, I got some notes on that, so let me refer to some of my notes. So I'll start out with, as I mentioned from the previous question, keep things local. So one of the things that I'm concerned with is the current budget is we've taken so much federal funds into the school district now that will come to an end very shortly. And we've raised the level of expectations in the school district of the funds that are coming in. When those end, we will be struggling with the budget that's left remaining to continue to fund those activities. So it's one of the concerns that I have coming up that I'd like to address as a school board member. So many of the votes that come toward the school board are directly related to budget, but mostly it's approving the budget. It's not necessarily making the budget. So I would like to see the school board itself be more involved with the actual numbers within the budget rather than just approving the budget. Thank you.
Sheila Dale.
The priorities for funding and management of the school budget to me would be primarily teachers and hiring great teachers and being able to retain those teachers. I know we've talked about this several times. I've got a friend of mine who retired from Henderson County's public school, and she retired from here and she drives across the state line and she makes more money there. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to hire those great teachers back here. We need Henderson County. I don't know the number, Jay, you would probably know the number, but I know West Henderson High had 26 teachers retire last year. We had a deficit, a huge deficit. So we need to fill that. I would like to update the curriculum to a greater degree, actually. And we've got SOR officers that we need to actually come in and reinforce. We've got cameras, I know, that are already on their way. I don't know the depth of that, but I know we're rebudgeting for the school systems to be just a little bit more safe as their entrance into the schools for the students. And really it boils down to education and student safety. And nutrition. I want to say nutrition is really valuable. And I think that's one of the missing elements. And I think Mary Ellen hit it. Farm to table, I have been advocating for that. We've got a high producing area, and there's no reason why we shouldn't have farm to table in our schools.
Jay Eagle.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier 125 million budget, and I think the last time was about 130, but we get about 100 million from the state, get about 30 million local, and that's through property tax. So it is a partnership that we have with the community and with the county and with the state. So we have to work together with the state and with the county. Title IX is important, so we try to treat everybody, every person, whether boy, girl, with like lights for softball fields. The class was taught as a class. Well, now it's not. They're divided up into 5 or 6 groups of 5 or 6 people, well, 3 or 4 or 5 people, and it's just, that is one of the priorities that I feel that is so important, is you start them when they're young, and even ones that are a little slower and haven't matured or slowly, then you bring them up as well, and then when they graduate, you're still able to show them that there's a path to go get a job, get a good paying job, even stay local and give back to the community. So I think it's just, those are my priorities with the schools and the children in the schools.
Mary Ellen Custon.
Thank you. I love this question. This gets to the heart of why I'm running for school board and fighting to put kids first. And I have the same priorities for kids in Henderson County Public Schools as I have for my own 2 kids. And I tell them this an embarrassing number of times a day, that I want them safe and happy in that order. Safety is so important, and kids are happiest when they're learning and they're figuring out the best ways they're going forward in this world. So, as many of y'all know, kids learn by doing. Experiential learning is so crucial. I'm so proud that we have a homegrown program that's held up as an example across the country in Muddy Sneakers, getting kids outside learning science. Watching, I encourage everyone here to follow all the schools you can on Facebook and see the happy, smiling kids, because they don't take pictures of the kids when they're sitting there just doing busy work. They take pictures of the kids when they're out doing stuff and learning. So I want kids safe in the classroom, I want them safe out in the world, and I want them learning by doing for sure. And then, of course, coming in boringly to money and resources. So this gets sort of a continuation from the last question of how we get the resources we need to kids and to teachers so everyone's doing well. Our state legislature has refused to fully fund the Leander plan, and in doing so, they are holding money hostage in Raleigh in excess. So this is a budget surplus to the tune of $5 billion, and they have not fully funded our schools. We have paid those taxes, and we should have that money back in Henderson County. So my speaking up for that is part of how I act to prioritize the resources getting to the students in our communities.
Eric Parlow.
Priorities for students. Marianne mentioned safety. Students need to feel safe. They also need to feel stability within the school. So last year we had to make some decisions that back and forth, in school, out of school in the last couple of years. Mask, no mask, we're going to bring that up. That was probably the number one topic in the school board for the last couple of years, so it deserves to be discussed. And we need to challenge the students, but they need to have fun. So, a little personal interaction that I have with my daughters. I have 2 daughters, one attends rugby and one attends West. I drive them to school every day, and on the way to school every morning, I ask them, what's one thing you learned yesterday? So I'm challenging them to think what they learned yesterday, and then what were you told at school yesterday that you agree with, and what were told that you disagree with? And if you disagree with it, why? And did you speak up in class and say you disagree with what you're being told? So, and then I align that with, well, how does that align with what you've learned from me as a parent that you can apply to school? So, safety, stability, challenge the students, and have fun doing it. Thank you.
Jay Egoff, you will respond first to the 6th and final League of Women Voter question. What will you do to ensure adequate and qualified staffing in each classroom?
Well, we work as a group, for one thing. We are members of a 7-member board, and we have standards that we like to look at. There are grades that we like to look at. But I will say that not everything is involved with a grade. There are people that excel, in different ways, and a letter grade is it's hard to it's hard to evaluate someone just based on a letter grade. So, but I think one of our most important opportunities is like right now with COVID, we did have a lot of people that retired early, that left the business. Like virtual learning was hard. So we have to do a lot to increase the staff, the teaching staff. And I know that we have reached out to people that have, like Kay Youngblood. I don't know if you know Kay. She taught at Hempstead High School. She had retired. We reached out to her, and she came back. So I know, and that is a number of teachers. So we have to retain. We have to find new teachers that have left the industry. And I talk about business. I talk about the industry because that's where I'm from. I'm a businessman. So when I look at the schools, again, I'm going to bring that aspect over to the school system because we've got a $130 million budget, and we got to look at the teachers, we got to look at the kids. How are we going to? So to me, in my mind, I look at it like a business. I look at it like an industry, and we have to put out the best product we can, and that's the kids and the children, and they have to again go on and be positive contributors to society. So when I say all that, we need to retain and go after teachers and figure out how to adequately get that. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Custon.
So we certainly saw over COVID adequate teaching go down the tubes, right? So folks who could retire early did. Folks got burnt out. Folks could be making more money elsewhere for sure. So as with any job, roles and responsibilities are incredibly important to people's happiness, to employee happiness, and to making sure that you're not burnt out. So to that end, we need to respect planning periods, not make teachers go teach other people's classes during that time. Bring in, so this is to be attracting and retaining. The attracting is to be proactive in making sure that we have open communication and pipelines to our resources in our backyard, like Blue Ridge, like Western, like UNC Asheville. Western has an amazing teacher program, an amazing EC teacher program, and to be able to communicate early and often with those folks to make sure that we are in communication with the professors, that they know that we have great opportunities here for internships, for student teaching, for assistant teachers at lower grades. That'll help keep our teachers from being burnt out, because we are rebuilding. We're rebuilding after COVID, and we have to acknowledge that and work with what we've got. Because every student deserves a teacher at their best, not burnt out, and not just making it that last year before retirement. At the same time, respecting those who have been teaching for years and the knowledge that the seniority that they have, because they've been at it for a long time and they've learned lessons that you can't learn in a college class for education. I probably scrolled down more things, but and I can always take anything back to the Leander plan, because if you're trying to attract and retain teachers, you need to pay them. And the idea of having adequate and qualified teachers and principals gets at our state constitution that says every child deserves a sound basic education, and that includes having adequate and qualified teachers and principals in the schools.
Eric Parlow.
And so the question was adequate staffing for each classroom. So as we talked earlier, and budget is really key to getting staffing in each different classroom. And so skipped over a page on the budget, but I think this directly applies here. So as we make a budget, we need to have what I would say is, through my engineering mindset, checklist. As we make decisions on budget, and it's going to come down to teachers pay, who we hire to recruit, what our budget is for recruiting. Is it necessary? What's the consequences of the approval that we make? Who does it help? Is this budget item sustainable in the long term? Where hidden costs come in that budget? So what else has to be figured in the hidden costs? And then it's the one-time ongoing. So teacher retention, that goes back to the stability that I mentioned earlier, and needs to be an enjoyable work environment. Okay? So back to having if you're having fun, it's easy to learn in an education. And so this topic is so broad, and it's difficult to put it into short terms, but so adequate staffing comes down to recruiting the right teachers, retaining the right teachers, and understanding what the teachers want from the school district. And I wrote down here that I'd like to see a teacher council. And so like one teacher from each grade and one from each school and representatives from the bus drivers to be on that council. And that would be a council that would advise the school board. Thank you.
Sheila Dale?
I'm going to agree with everything that everyone has said already. I do know that there is a strong effort already with Henderson County Public Schools. I've been told, and forgive me if I get the number wrong, Jay or Mr. Bridges could probably correct me on this, but I'm understanding that there's already been a tremendous a search within a 500-mile radius even for qualified teachers to be able to come into the county. And again, it goes back to what we pay and how they're vested. So that really does need to change.
Okay, that concludes the questions from the League of Women Voters. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Dot Case indicated desire to be here, but an important family wedding prevented that. And Heather Sowery Ray was going to be here until she contacted COVID in the last 2 days. So that prevented her from being here as well. So, we have questions? Here's my question. Okay. Mary Ellen Custon will respond first to this question. What role, if any, should board members have in the selection of curriculum? And how will you handle curriculum ideas that are not always consistent with your present values? What rules should parents play? That's a compound, complex sentence.
I'm going to make you say it again, though. I'm sorry.
Yes. How about I break that down by clauses? That'll work better. Yes, okay.
Was that rules or roles that parents play? Roles.
Role? Okay. I'll try it again. What role, if any, should board members have in the selection of curriculum? Mary Ellen Custon will respond first.
Oh, no, it's just, that's the only question for now.
Yes.
Got it. All right. Curriculum. So that is a very important question and a hot topic for sure. I have to show my biases, just that I'm a math and science gal, so I definitely am swayed towards numbers and to showing that curriculum is effective. And we know that curriculum is also based in culture, and so to understand our culture as a community here in Henderson County is important. So I don't think that the school board's role in choosing curriculum should not happen in a vacuum. We should be in close consultation with teachers, with administrators, and of course to hear from parents. But to make sure that the curriculum is effective, so to see where we are now. I did mention Leader in Me previously, because that is a wonderful program that's certainly gotten some effective outcomes. But is that the only option? And are we willing to see the fallacy of sunk costs, to see what else we could be exploring to make sure that we're growing leaders in our schools, perhaps without spending as much money as we do. So I'd have an eye towards, so the school board should have an eye towards the cost of any curriculum, like a curriculum in a box type thing, but also valuing what we've developed in-house throughout the years as teachers teach, and make sure that it is grounded in our culture throughout, representing everyone in Henderson County.
Eric Powell.
So the question is, what role does the school board have in curriculum? I believe the curriculum starts and ends with the school board. It is the school board's responsibility for everything that's taught within the school district. It all comes back to the school board. They are the sole responsibility for that. Now, that being said, they can't control every bit of curriculum taught in every class. So the school board needs to make that decision at the vetting level for superintendents and every staff member below that, and understand who is teaching the students, because they are delivering the curriculum in the way, the manner that they want it delivered. So even though we may highlight a specific curriculum, those that are in the school district and employed and under the board's direction are responsible for the curriculum. So it begins and ends with the board. That is the role of the school board and curriculum.
Sheila Dale.
This is a really good question, and one that has been forefront to me, and I'm probably going to step on a little toes when I say this. The board really does have the right to choose the curriculum. However, I would love to see committees with parents. You asked what was the role of the parent, 100% involvement. And sometimes we have to pull the parents along. But there is a curriculum that's being used by Hillsdale. We have a new charter school that is coming on board, and they use Hillsdale University material. They're teaching Singapore math, 9 different ways to do a problem. I think that's a great interest. It just teaches children how to learn at a broader scale. So my thing is definitely parents, teachers. We've got a plethora of resources here with teachers. A strong education, a strong curriculum, and age-appropriate content material needs to be chosen per grade level, per school. And I would like to see that. I would love to see more parent involvement, and again, mentorships coming in from the county.
Jay Egoff.
Yes, I think that in my mind, the curriculum is kind of what I was talking about, the partnership with the state and with local. And we can't just decide what we think is best for the students. We can modify, we can, mold it a little bit, but, I'm a math, English, science, computer, history, that's the type of guy I am. And I want my children, when they go to school, they learn math, and they learn English, and we get tests from the state, end of grade testing and beginning of grade testing, and they can see what kind of progress they have done throughout the year. And if we just choose what we think is best, they might not test so well. And again, I'll focus back on, I mentioned testing earlier. That should not be the only way you grade students, but that is a way of grading teachers and students. And I want them, one thing that I would like to see is more on, interest rates. Kids, they get out of school, and I remember when I don't have a minute, I'll talk fast, but when I went to Carolina, there were all these advertisements for credit cards, and there were all these people getting credit cards. They didn't know how to handle the money. They didn't know, if they made just a minimum payment, how much it would cost them. And so I think, when we have an opportunity, we should be able to focus on a curriculum that involves everyday experiences, like credit cards, like interest rates, like what happens when you think out of car loan. There's so many people, credit is such a big problem that I see every single day, and we don't touch it at school. And so if I had an opportunity, that's what I would look at. I would look at interest rates, credit, I'm told to stop, so I'm stopping.
Mary Ellen Custon?
We're doing the second half of that question?
Have you okay. No,
You hit me first last time, but can you make so lucky.
Eric Carlo, you go first.
Okay.
And the question is, how will you handle curriculum ideas that are not always consistent with your personal values?
So it comes down to, we all think differently. We all need to work as a team. We need to discuss why we believe this curriculum is valuable, why it is not, and work through that as a board. But then I will stand my ground in what I believe is the best curriculum and vote accordingly.
Sheila Dale?
Well, when we use the word curriculum, I'm thinking education. And education lines up with my values.
J.E. Goff?
I've mentioned before that I'm a math, English, writing, computers, history, that type of person. That's what I want my children to learn. That's what I think a majority of our children should learn. There was an example of something, I think maybe some of you have heard of a privilege walk, opportunity walk. If not, you can Google it when you leave here. But that was being done one time at a school, and I personally did not agree with it. It was like if English is your main language, take a step forward. If English is not your main language, take a step back. And if you were the first one to go to college, take a step back. If your parents went to college, step forward. Well, all that does, in my mind, is it separates. And I'm not into separation. I'm into treating everybody equal. When I talk about this often, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Remember the Titans, but that was about a football team that came together as a team. It was blacks and whites and integration, and they won as a team. And that's how we need to view. So I don't want own agendas going into the schools. I just, now after school is okay. A club, that's fine. But during school is what my focus is on, and I want them to read English, learn English, math, reading, science, computers. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Custon?
This is an interesting question. You left out history that time, Jay, and it makes me think that history is beautiful, history is ugly, history is uncomfortable, history is worth celebrating. I trust our teachers as professionals to teach our student age-appropriate curriculum. I'm not sure how that would go against my beliefs. I would be curious to speak with this person over coffee and hear more about just concrete examples of what's stuck in their craw, because it sounds juicy. But public schools rock, and they can also be messy. I mean, there's a beautiful bouquet of humanity, and it all comes together in public schools. There's not places, Remember the Titans is cool, but there are not places that always happens. So to be able to come respectfully together and trust our teachers to teach facts, to teach history is vital.
Eric Custon? Hi, Eric Carlos.
We're not together.
You responded to this question?
Started.
Okay, you started. Oh,
I'll
okay.
answer it again.
No, you had your chance.
Good topic.
Sheila Dale will begin answering this question first. And the question is, what role should parents play?
Well, I'm going to come back again to parents need to be involved. The parents want to be involved, and there's so many parents that can't be involved based on just living conditions, work and this, that, and the other. Let me just tell you that there is a law that was put in place, and it's called the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And this actually grants parents the right to be able to be involved in every aspect of their child's life in school. There's nothing that should be hidden from them at all. So again, the question, I don't know if that answers your question completely. Would you repeat it one more time? Because this is really important to me. As a parent, as a grandmother, this is really important that my children, every child is encouraged not only at school but at home. And it's just a learning environment all the way around. So what is done at home, at school, is reinforced at home. And I just truly believe that that's the way a child learns.
Did you want the question repeated?
Yeah, if you would, so make sure I don't miss anything.
Okay. What role should parents play?
I guess I answered that question. Yes.
J.D. Golf?
The parents should have input on what is being learned. However, when you have 13,000 kids, and we have a county of over 100,000 people, and you have people, we're going to have all sorts of ideas, and I can see what this might create. But on the other hand, I also, I passed out some cards earlier. My email is on it. My cell phone that's right here is on it. I do want parents involved. I want them to know that they have a school board member that they can talk to. I'm a business owner, but lots of business owners they're in some glass house high and above, and you can't find them, you can't reach them. I'll put my personal cell phone on my business cards at work. So yes, I want people to reach out to me and ask questions. And I've received 2 this week, and I handled them. So parents do and should be involved. However, there does come a time that it's hard to have an organized school system, have an organized education when every parent decides what is best for their child. That's why, there are some charter schools, there are some private schools. But when I believe public education, which is funded by public tax dollars, they need to study on history, math, English, writing, computers. And you know what? And we all need to be reachable. And if they have comments, and if they do have a question, call me up, email me, text me. So I do encourage parent involvement, but give the partnership.
Mary Ellen Custon?
Thank you. I am a parent. I have my kids' cell phone number in my cell phone. We text. I love being involved. And I do think parents should be involved. We have wonderful PTO meetings. I love seeing parents come to school board meetings. I'm one of those parents who does. And public schools are a supplement to parents' parenting, for sure. I see them going hand in hand in a partnership, and that the way I experience public schools and the way I see my kids experiencing it is my husband and I parent our children. We're happy with how we're raising them, and they know who they are when they go to school. And I don't feel like I'm being shut out from the process, and I certainly don't want other parents to feel like they would be. So to have that good partnership, to have involvement in the classroom, through the PTO, and with school board members when appropriate is excellent.
Eric Parlow?
And we answered the first question about the board's responsibility for curriculum. And go one step ahead of that it's the parents' responsibility to educate their children, and we as a school district come alongside them and aid them and help them in that education. So the parents' role even supersedes the board's role in curriculum. So that's the parents' role. So that rules down to, we have board meetings once a month. Parents want to address the board, they get 3 minutes. Very rarely can you make a point to the board in 3 minutes. So the board's emails, and in Jay's case, parents, it starts with the parents, the school board comes alongside, as partnership with the parents. Thank you.
Jay Egoff, you will respond first. What measures would you support to keep students and staff safe?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the SROs, that's an incredible partnership that I believe that every school should have an SRO, which they do in the classroom, not in the classroom, but at school. They help develop a partnership with law enforcement. And I answered this question earlier, and I was like, when I was in school, if a police officer showed up, someone was in trouble, and it's not like that now. And that's a good thing, and we focus on the two secure entrances. And it used to be, you could walk into the school and you could, just wander around. It's different now, and that's good. You get buzzed in, you have to go through the office. Now we're still working to accommodate that. I think one school is without that. But we're still we're doing that. So the SROs, the dual entry. Did that answer that? What else did you say? Anything? It was about security and safety. Cameras. There's a camera at the office. You always have to look for the bell. If I hit the bell, now look for the camera so they can see who's there. But cameras are good. The entry points and the SROs, I think, are great additions.
Mary Ellen Custon?
Thank you. So safety and mental health seem to be brought up in the same breath very often. I'm a huge proponent of making sure our students' mental health is addressed in ways proactively so that we don't just wait until there is a problem. That does take resources also. See paragraph about Leander Plan and making sure our schools have more resources. But also, I'm proud to be the only Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense candidate running for your school board. I do not believe that we should be militarizing our schools. I think SROs are professionals, and that's excellent, and they should do our jobs just like teachers are professionals and should be doing their jobs. So I'm happy that I volunteered with the Be Smart program that works in partnership with our sheriff's office to make sure that teachers that parents, grown-ups, know how to securely store firearms and ammunition separately so that it's not an easy access to students. We know that guns enter schools. When I say guns, I don't mean on an SRO's hip, but guns enter schools with the intention to hurt people 72% of the time with a student that's already at that school. And they get those weapons from family, from friends. So to make sure that the Be Smart is an acronym for secure, model, ask, recognize, and tell. And I don't have time to get into all of it, but it's a great website if you want to go check it out. And to make sure that, if the sheriff's department is working with the school department to get the resources in the parents' hand, be it a simple gun lock, the education that's needed, just a quick reminder, if you've got grandkids coming over, to not having a gun under your bed is not sufficient, right? You need to actually have it securely put away. So to do common sense in the home solutions, because it's not just a school problem, it's an everybody problem, but we can certainly work together to address it.
Eric Parlow?
So, keep students and staff safe. So, best fight is no fight, and it's prevention. We need to focus on preventing. So, schools need to be a hard target. We don't want schools to look as a soft target that someone believes they can come in and not be addressed with what's needed to address that. So, prevention first and foremost. So, but when the fight comes to the school, we need to be prepared to win that fight. With the resources, SROs, that Marilyn mentioned, that are first on the front lines. So, in many of these instances, seconds count. Help can't be minutes away when seconds count. So, when one area I'll throw out, and this is something I've been considering as bringing to the school board. I'd like to see, for instance, this is a discussion that we'll have as a team. I'd like to see the principals and the vice principals be sheriff's deputies. Have a marked sheriff's car that each one of them are allocated. For every school, we got a principal's car, we got a vice principal's car, and an SRR car. I got 3 marked sheriff's vehicles in every school. How we budget that is a different question, but that is prevention. So, best fight is no fight, prevention is what we do.
Sheila Dale?
SROs are an absolute must at every school. I am not opposed to teachers who are willing, by choice, to conceal carry at school, but highly trained. There's no way that you can't carry a gun on your hip or in your purse or wherever and something happen, and then all of a sudden you know that you think that you're going to respond appropriately. They need to be trained. If in fact they are willing to do that, I am not opposed to that. Cameras, most assuredly, and definitely, I've done some research in Ohio. I've been to Ohio doing some research with a couple of the schools up there. They actually have one entryway, and it's bulletproof. And you're buzzed into that one entryway, and if you've not called ahead, and your name's not on a sheet of paper and you show identity, you don't get in. There's nothing wrong with that. So prevention is really top notch, and it just goes without saying. Our children are the most valuable resources that we have in this county. There is no dollar. It doesn't matter what the cost. It just needs to happen. Our children are that valuable. They deserve that. They deserve a safe environment to be able to learn.
Okay, this is the final question of the evening. Mary Ellen Custer will respond first. What should be the relationship between teachers and school board members?
A good one. Let's do it, y'all. So of course there is, the chain of command going up the administration ladder, and that's important, and that's there for a reason. But teachers are people, school board members are people, and when we can eliminate the miscommunication by sitting down together and talking about things, problems as they arise, celebrating successes, highly recommend y'all, if you haven't already, read B.J. Waters' book. It's so good, and it does, getting kids to, and I realize you asked about teachers in the school board, but getting kids, good referrals to the office so that they're getting like a pat on the back in a really celebrated way is so powerful. And so to find ways, teachers are not children, but to raise up their successes, to celebrate them, and to have open lines of communication is so valuable. A lot of teachers are also parents in the school system too. So to be able to recognize that and the many hats they're wearing, as well as the many hats the school board's wearing, is crucial. And not all relationships are perfect, and not all teachers are not a monolith, and the school board's not a monolith. So to be able to meet people where they are, as individually as possible, but also to communicate systematically so that it's not one-off, to be able to build in celebrations into school board meetings, but also when you're not, when the school board meeting is not being televised on YouTube, but when you're actually going into schools and speaking to folks one-on-one. So personal connections with systematic, addressing of issues, both good and bad.
Eric Paulo?
And this relationship between teachers, and I'll add to that staff, and the school board. So the teachers and staff need to believe, and truly believe, that the school board has their best interest at heart. and they need to trust that the school board will make good decisions for not only the school district, but each individual teacher. So I mentioned earlier that as school board member, I would like to facilitate a teacher council. So that teacher council would directly address the board, and it would be what I would refer to in my career as a skip meeting. We skip the principals, we skip the management, the level in between the teachers and the school board, and one teacher from each grade, K through 12, and one teacher from each school, and a representative from, say, bus drivers. So bus drivers are a big concern that we have, and we need that input also from bus drivers and staff. So respect and trust for the school board is where the teachers need to say that we have the best interest. And that goes a long way. Thanks.
Sheila Dale?
I think we should show value to our teachers by funding higher education. I know they're funding it out of their own pocket, and that's just really rough. That shouldn't be. There's not another, most career advancements, that just doesn't happen, especially in education, it shouldn't. So showing appreciation, we can do that in so many different ways. Showing respect for their professionalism and for their field and for what they're doing, honoring them, and having an open and honest dialogue. And I truly believe that building a relationship is key, is pivotal to success for them and for the school, for our students. It really boils down to them. Having that open dialogue and being honest. You know, integrity is one of those things where you, okay, you're going to do in the open what you do in the dark. You know, you're just honest all across the board. And sometimes you have to have those open, honest dialogues with people, and it's tough. So it's tough coming, and it's tough going. But knowing that in the end you're going to reach a happy medium, if at all possible. And again, it's the best interest of the students. But the teachers really need to be shown respect. That's bottom line. And compensated well.
J.E. Golf?
When you talk about the relationship with teachers and school board members, you know, I go back to, you know, volunteering in Clear Creek and what Dr. Bryant told me about, you know, building relationships. You know, I do go there because I do want to see the kids learning and what they're having trouble with and try to help them overcome that. But I also like to go there because I do see Colby Corn, well, that was last year, not this year. But I saw Colby once a week. I saw Miss Kelly Bailey once a week. I saw Miss Jenkins once a week, and she was the teacher of the year at Clear Creek. So building a relationship with the kids is important, but it's so important to also build relationships with the teachers. You know, and that goes back to, you know, what I do, and I voluntarily put out my email address, and not my HCPSNC address. This is my work email address. People can reach me. They can call me. You know, I do want to always work on a relationship with our teachers. And I think it's so important to have good schools and good teachers. And so I believe a relationship is paramount with the teachers. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our forum. A closing comment. Because I am a teacher, and it is a natural thing when I see this many people together to give a homework assignment. And since you people are all A students, because you are here tonight, the assignment is simply, you will vote, because you're an A student. So your job is to go out and grab by the stuff of the neck any person who thinks that they are not going to vote, and teach them in very short language that they will vote. I think it's appropriate that we give all these 4 candidates a hand because they came on a Saturday night. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.